Hotep, and welcome once again to another edition of Community Cop. My name is Noel Leader, one of the co-founding members of 100 Blacks Law Enforcement Who Care. I'm here with two of my co-hosts. First of all, Julian Harper.
Welcome, welcome.
Second of all, Michael Graves, a.k.a. Big Mike.
Namaste.
And unfortunately, Father Lucas won't be with us today. He's on a Community Cop assignment. Hopefully, he'll rejoin us next Tuesday. We'd like to welcome you, our viewing audience, to another program which we hope will be very informative. This is where truth and real talk occurs, and we'd like to welcome you and inform you. And once again, our ordinary, weekly viewers understand that you can watch this over the internet, but we'd like for you to share with your friends and your foes across the country that they can catch the program via the internet in ManhattanNeighborhoodNetwork.com.
Org.
Lord have mercy. I always get it wrong. I don't care what I think, it's always the other thing. And Julian always have to, I know you cringe every time I say it. ManhattanNeighborhoodNetwork.org. You can watch this program wherever you are at that have access to the internet. We encourage you to share this program with your family and friends. But straight off the bat, as is customary, we like to reflect on some of the historic event. And Michael, you brought a clip for us to view today.
Yes.
Why don't you tell our viewing audience a little bit about the clip?
Well, this is Confederacy Month, and certainly the South primarily is celebrating as we speak right now. So we need to watch this clip. The entire Confederacy are having programs ad nauseum, and we probably have not seen that in the city, but it goes on annually. So we probably need to just watch it and then take it from there.
Okay, let's watch this clip, and we'll have a discussion shortly thereafter.
Enacted holiday, Confederate Memorial Day. Have done it for years under Republican governors and Democrat governors, and for 7 years as governor, I have issued a proclamation because of what the legislature's done. My Democratic predecessors did so as well. I don't know what you would say about slavery, but anybody that thinks that you have to explain to people that slavery is a bad thing, I think goes without saying.
There's this sort of feeling that it's insensitive, but you clearly don't agree.
To me, it's the sort of feeling that it's a nit, that it is not significant, that it's not, it's trying to make a big deal out of something that doesn't amount to diddly.
One. Well, now let's just back up some of this. First of all, I'd like to talk about some of the things that Mr. Martin talked about. You know, he called the honorable people in the Southland of America, who were some of the most honorable people in this country, American terrorists, and said that if the South had won the war, we'd be in the fields now. I mean, that's just poppycocking. That's just playing on the feelings of people who just want to say slavery and end all dialogue. It is a great thing that the governor of Virginia did when he declared Confederate History Month, because now we have the opportunity to tell the Southern side, which is never told. With the advent of the Industrial Revolution, and I'm very surprised about in Virginia, because in Virginia, up until the days of the war, those men in the legislatures of Virginia were working very hard to try to figure out a way to give real emancipation to that slave. They knew, white folks in the Southland of America knew that a man was not free unless he had an ability to take care of himself, unless he had land, a home for shelter, and some money, and possibly some slaves of his own. I resent the fact that this man, I don't know whether Mr. Martin is from the North or where he's from, but it's the same virtuosity that these folks give to the North. That virtuosity does not belong in the North.
Listen, I know Roland. I believe Roland.
Are you talking to me, sir?
Yes.
Well, see, here's the other thing about it. Having Confederate History Month and talking about leaving out slavery, the thing about it is, when you have Confederate History Month and we start talking about the kinds of things that took place around here in America, you can't leave out slavery. You have to talk about the place of honor and dignity that African be he freed or indentured earned under the Christian cross of St. Andrews. I'm talking about the Confederate flag. Hollywood don't tell this story. Other folks don't tell this story. That is one of the reasons why you need to have Confederate History Month. My question is, why are these folks afraid to have the Southern side told? They don't want to tell you about these things. We talk about Black History Month. I don't know how you can separate Black history from Confederate history in the first place.
Okay, can I get in here now, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Texas is a unique place. When we came in the Union in 1845, one of the issues was that we would be able to leave if we decided to do that.
My hope is that America, and Washington in particular, pays attention. We got a great union. There's absolutely no reason to dissolve it. But if Washington continues to thumb their nose at the American people, who knows what may come out of that.
That's the comment of a.
All right, the comments of some, well, Mike, why don't you explain some of these individuals' opinion that we just observed?
Well, here you have, obviously, those that know that this was the culmination of the Civil War happened in April, and certainly Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in April. The manhunt occurred, and so this is bittersweet in some memories, and this is the month that the Confederacy remembers its own. And when you have blacks like that defending the flying of the Confederate flag, which is flown as we speak right now, the state building, state capitol in Georgia, as well as South Carolina, and he refers to it as a Christian flag, and he refers to the Confederacy with dignity and honor. These were the people that sold children into slavery, took children from their mothers and parents, hung black men and women ad nauseum, and he somehow calls it dignified. It's just hypocritical to watch a black man do something like that. So when you have Haley Barbour, former governor of Mississippi, former governor of Texas, Perry and others, defend Virginia when Virginia made a real big splash several years ago about their Confederacy Month, and Mississippi said that they've been doing it and preceded Virginia or anybody else. So it just shows you that the insensitivity of whites, and they pretend that it's not racist, but it's historical, so it must be celebrated, where that flag is something that should be outlawed in the whole concept of the Confederate States because they were outlaws.
All right, and to deny the existence of slavery in this country, anyone who wants to etch that out of the American history book is preposterous. Slavery existed for more years in this country than it has not existed. So there's an integral part of this country, and it lays at the foundation of America. Julian?
Yeah, and it seemed like one of the people that were commenting, the gentleman was stating how he wants to glorify or show how the positive effects slavery played during that time. And there was no positive for African people when you talk about slavery. So, you can't glorify or romanticize slavery on any count. So, we really have to keep an eye when people attempt to do such things.
All right. Fast forward up to 2015, a whole lot going on in New York City, throughout the country as it relates primarily law enforcement. We want to review and talk once again about some of the horrific police murders, not killings, not accidents, police killings of African Americans, many unarmed, not engaged in any criminality. So let's start off with a recent killing that had happened in Baltimore, D.C., where a young man named Gray was murdered while in police custody. Now, he was arrested allegedly for nothing. I think he was running on the streets, and he was stopped by police officers and arrested. They claim he resisted. But the autopsy report that was revealed today showed that 80% of his spinal cord was detached, which means there had to be a level of brute force that the officers inflicted on him. Michael, why don't you tell our audience about this unfortunate, once again, police killing?
Well, he was running in the city of Baltimore, and Baltimore has a black mayor, and also she's female, and she's going on record and ran on that she would change the heavy-handedness of the Baltimore Police Department, which is extremely heavy-handed. And part of her running, she picked Latino, I think his name is Rodriguez or something, to be her police commissioner, and pledged to the black community in Baltimore's majority black, pledged that there would be a deep change in police tactics, enforcement, and just the way they handle their day-to-day business. That attitude has not changed at all, even though she's on the president's task force and supposed to be changing things. Nothing has changed. She has no answers at this time. The temerity of the Baltimore Police Department to charge a black man with running in public, as if you don't have the right to run or jog down Baltimore City streets. His neck was, as Noel pointed out, 80% detached, his spinal cord, and that takes a lot because your neck muscles naturally protect and keep your neck in line, so it takes a lot of severe force to do something like that. So it shows you that this hypocrisy continues, and just this confluence of violence that we see in the black community. Our people have to get tired and get tired quickly and remove these types of mayors that she's no better than Wilson Good, and that's unfortunate.
Now, Julian, as it relates to, I cannot imagine the level of brutality and force that it would take, other than like someone being involved in a vehicle accident or a train accident, where 80% of your neck muscles and your spinal cord is detached. You know, when you look at a lot of these films of these police arrests, I see practices that you and I never engage in, where they putting their knee on people's head. And I'm not talking about just in a light manner. They're digging that knee into the head, into the neck. They're, you know, putting force on individuals' neck area. What are some of your thoughts in terms of how does someone suffer that kind of injury, you know, at the hands of police officers? And as I said last week, the number one priority of all law enforcement officers is the preservation of life, even when you make an arrest.
Right. Well, you know, it's unfortunate. You know, I can't imagine what would make someone use that much force on anyone under any circumstances to cause that kind of injury to someone. You know, when you want to stop someone from either moving and you want to make an arrest, there's a significant amount of force that you can use, but not to that degree to prevent them from either attempting to flee or from resisting arrest. And you know, one of the things that I heard as reported, that this young man looked at the police, they looked at him, and he ran. They pursued him, and then that's when all of this occurred. Now, I never heard, at least not through the media reports that I heard.
And this is the
Right.
film, as you talk, and this is the film of the incident.
Right. The media reports that I heard, that he was charged with anything, any kind of crime, whether it was a burglary, a robbery, or any crime. But we really have to look at what's going on nationally when we talk about how the police respond in our community, the amount of force that's being used, the over-aggressiveness that's being used when it comes to our community. And it happens specifically in our community. I just recently read a report where a man went up to the police and said, listen, I want you to kill me. He was being aggressive. He charged the police. And the police officer used so much restraint and did not use any physical force, no deadly physical force, to subdue this guy. He called back up. The guy eventually laid on the ground, surrendered, and was arrested. We're not afforded that same kind of response when it comes in our community. So we really have to look at how the police engage the African American and the minority community.
And I've seen that film as well, and it seems to be a white male.
Yes. I'm sorry, I meant to say that was part of. I meant to say he was a white male. Yeah.
Right. And you see the level of constraint. They show another film where a police officer engaged somebody who had been involved in a domestic violence incident, and he was shot, a police officer. But it was another white male who he used a lot of constraint in terms of gaining control of that individual. And when you look at some of the films, some of the horrific interactions between African Americans and police officers, it's always brutal first, second, and third.
Right.
And there's very little constraint being utilized initially. That shooting where the individual said he thought he reached for his taser. You know, the reports have come out that the taser was kept up top in the chest and the gun was during the waist, and a lot of people are trying to make excuses for him getting in the midst of the so-called battle, him confusing the taser with the gun. But I don't see any way in the world where he can, you know, be found not to be accountable for his actions. Your gun is on your waist, your taser's in your chest. You should have known you reached for your gun when you pulled out and shot.
And one of the things that I've always talked about, that the police department is in the business of protecting the police department. And I always say that. So I'm not surprised when we get these responses from the administrations, from the mayors, from the high-ranking officials in the police department when they're defending the actions of some of these police officers. You know, we're going to have another topic that we're going to talk about, some of the things they talk about to address some of these issues, but I think that they have to really revisit how they respond to the abuses that's being unleashed upon our community by the police department.
Like you said, throughout the nation.
Well, the 73-year-old person that did that, I think was named Drake.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like
something like
that.
that.
Yeah, he was the campaign manager for the sheriff. So he not only contributed to the campaign, but he was also the campaign manager. And the fact is, as I pointed out last week, he had his taser on his offhand, on his weak side, vest, left side. So you have to literally go across your body.
He had to stay up here
In the chest, yes, you got to go across the body. As opposed to going to your hip, you have to go across the body. So even muscle memory prevents you from doing a move that's just so out of the ordinary, where you know your strong hand is where your firearm is going to be ultimately. So he was, you know, in that regard, he just making up a lie. So to appear with his family and to have a lot of females there, wife and, you know, daughters, you know, granddaughters, to have them all there, it makes it look humane and upright. But certainly he should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, because that's just something that should not be tolerated.
And you can't just keep on, white police officers cannot, or any police officer for that matter, cannot just say, oops, I made a mistake when you cost somebody their life. There's some culpability, there is some penalty that the person has to pay. You know, you can have all the sympathy you want to have for this individual, but at the end of the day, his actions caused the unnecessary death of an individual, and he has to be responsible for that. He has to eat that. He has to pay for that criminally.
Oh, by the way, you know, something that I didn't point out last week in viewing the tape, when they were all chasing that young man down, they all had their firearms out. Everyone, all the police officers had their firearms back. When they got him on the ground, as they caught him, you saw all of the police officers holstering their weapons. This guy never holstered his weapon, so he's lying when he said he made a mistake between his firearm and taser. He never holstered his weapon. So when he got to the crowd with the suspect was already down, he went into action with the gun already in his hand. So it was not a mistake.
Right, and you know, when I viewed that, every time you view that film, and you hear the shot, look at the officer who has his digging his knee, even after the firing, his knee into this individual's head, and another officer has his fist in his face. I don't know what he was doing, but the level of aggression and utter brutality that these officers are emitting, you know, it's getting ridiculous, and it's on film and it's captured. But these officers aren't immediately arrested, you know, for their actions.
One thing that I don't want to make it appear is if these are anomalies, like these are things that don't normally happen
every day.
And you know, I've been in the police department. I've stopped people from using force that I thought that was excessive. I've gotten to confrontation with guys from preventing them from being over aggressive and brutal when it comes to dealing with people in the community. So this isn't anything new. The bottom line is that the police department allows these things to continuously occur. I don't think that the administration nor the hierarchy in the police department are doing what they need to do to prevent, to address, to correct, and to stop all of these overzealous. And saying overzealous is being very tame and polite when I say that. Overzealous police officers when they deal with the people in our community.
Right, and we're going to talk about some proposed suggestions that they've come up with. But before we do that, so that you won't think that all of this aggression and abuse is not happening in New York City, the mayor, police commissioner, Bill Bratton, is proposing that resisting arrest be moved from an A misdemeanor to a felony, meaning that officers who charge individuals with resisting arrest, now these individuals are going to be facing felony charges. Now, Julian and Michael and I all know that a lot of times resisting arrest is used to cover up officers' misactions, be it a false arrest, be it police brutality. And, You know, you have two state senators, one from Staten Island, one from Queens, who have introducing this into legislation in New York State, asking that this, at the bequest of your police commissioner, who was appointed by your mayor, that this be moved up from misdemeanor to a felony. Now, investigation or reports show that 5% of police officers charged resisting arrest 40% of the time. 5% of the police department is charged for 40% of the resisting arrest charge, which to me indicates that it's a problem with the police officers, these police officers. Bratton, former police commissioner, have done nothing. Only 6.2% of those charged with resisting arrest are actually prosecuted for resisting arrest, which tells me that the district attorney, who is mostly police friendly, really understands that these are just add-on charges and should be dismissed. So why is the mayor's police commissioner and why are two state senators attempting to get this passed into legislation when the statistics show that this is really unnecessary? Julian, we start with you.
Well, I'm going to go back to a statement that I made earlier. The police department is in the business of protecting the police department. And we're not talking about, and listen, I understand that, but we need some fairness, some justice, and some equity in policing, and that's not what's happening. But when you start talking about these charges of resisting arrest, police officers can make that a charge at a whim for anything. If an officer attempts to grab your hand and you remove your hand and you say, listen, I'm not going, if he wants to deem that resisting arrest, he can say that's resisting arrest. Now, does that warrant a felony charge? I don't think so. We understand that if a police officer gives you an order, a lawful order, that you're supposed to follow it. Even if it's not lawful, believe it or not, you're supposed to follow it. But okay, we cannot allow them to use, especially with all of the issues that are happening with the police department, all of the over-aggressiveness when it comes to policing our community that occurs, we can't give them another tool to abuse our community with. So we really have to be careful when these elected officials are not looking to operate from a position that's going to benefit the collective, the entire community, but because they're looking to get votes, and we know that the PBA is very powerful when it comes to lobbying, when they're looking to appease or work with the PBA, when it's going to be detrimental to our community.
From the outset, just want to remind everybody that 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care are pro-law enforcement. We do not believe that the criminal element in any way should be spared or relax the laws that are there to prosecute criminals, especially those who criminalize our community or any other community for that matter. However, the fact is these two state senators are participating in white supremacist activity. Dr. Shashi McIntyre said it best when she wrote the great book, which we all should have, Criminalizing a Race. This current mayor, he is the one who said that a part of his job is to secure the borders of Israel. Now, he didn't say that a part of his job is securing the borders of Zimbabwe. He said Israel. And the black voters what got him in, however. And he also is going on record said he will not entertain anything and will veto any legislation around the chokehold. So he's supposed to be this progressive, liberal mayor, yet he's against any type of prosecution with any police officer that exercises the chokehold. Now he's going even further. So because of this incidents that are caught on tape, like in Eric Garner, who did not resist arrest, who raised questions as to why he's being harassed at that time. So they want to make, even when you verbalize, and certainly young black men are going to ask the question, why you bother me, why you arrest me, what do you want me to put my hands up for? In the white community, that's tolerated. In the black community, that if that felony, if it goes through as a real felony, you will be arrested. If there is no other accompanying charge, most district attorneys will ignore that and just continue with the prosecution, where any fair-minded district attorney would say, well, what are the charges that caused you to effect this arrest in the first place? But that element won't be there, as you see in Ferguson, how all these things are going on in Ferguson and places like that, and yet you're ignoring the bottom line. These persons were not in the commission of a crime. So when you wrap it up, when all is said and done, is this mayor is allowing these things to happen, and it's going to ill affect the black community, not the white community.
Right.
Real quick, we just put up a short film or a clip of what happened in that
Baltimore.
In Baltimore. I want you guys to notice the name that they put up of that commissioner was first of all, he was a deputy commissioner, and he was a male Hispanic, so it was his last name was Rodriguez again. Understand that these people are very calculating when they do things. Now, they put a male Hispanic up there, and I believe, and I'm not in the heads or the minds of any of them, but I believe that they try to shift the thought pattern in the minds of our people when they see these things by using a male Hispanic. Now, I don't know whether the commissioner is a male black or a male white, but I've been in cases with the New York City Police Department where they would put a black face out in front on racial sensitive cases just to try to quell the tensions in our community. So we got to be careful on how they operate.
And when you look at the film, you see that the young man is definitely incapable at that time of walking. His spinal cord probably was injured at that particular time. And in this case, and in the Eric Garner case, and in the case of the brother that was shot 8 times in the back, you see such insensitive treatment of individuals that are in police custody as it relates to their medical condition. You see, when Eric Garner was arrested and said he couldn't breathe over 11 times, it was totally ignored. These brutes not only cause these injuries, but when the person is injured, as opposed to recognizing the injury and giving them medical treatment, it's totally dismissed. You know, their physical condition, that's against the patrol guide as well, and there's very rarely any accountability for the ignorance of the people's physical condition. This man, you see, they dragging him, his legs aren't even moving. So it's not like he refused to walk.
Right. I'm sorry, and I don't know if it's ignorance, because I don't think that they're ignorant to the fact that these people are injured. I think they just totally dismiss it or they don't have any concern about that. But in another one of those cases, one of the gentlemen was saying, listen, I can't breathe. And the officer said, F your breath.
Exactly.
So, you know, the total, and I like to use this word because, or this phrase, and I think sometimes people may misinterpret it, but the total dehumanization of our people when they're dealing with our people, whether you're being arrested or not, you know, and police officers aren't judge and jury. They're just making an arrest to bring you to a court of law so they can be a determination whether there's innocent or guilt or enough evidence for that. But that's not their place to totally dehumanize the people that they're arresting and just totally dismiss anything relative to them being injured or any medical treatment that they may need at the time.
And now, Julian, in the newspaper today, there's a federal proposal as it relates to New York training. And they come up with such interesting ideas as, you know, simply don't be racist. They offer that as a suggestion. They also said don't mock other people's the way they speak. Don't mock them. Now, these are some of the instructions that you give your children as it relates to appropriate action. Why is, and I just dismiss that point as being ridiculous. Why are these suggestions included into a federal probe into how police officers should improve their actions to communities of colors? This is stuff that you should learn as a kid, that your parents should teach you, not your police commissioner.
Well, you know, unfortunately, I can't answer that question, why it's included in the federal probe, because it's bewildering to me. I just don't get it. I don't know why they would think that you need police officers to be instructed on how to be civil, how to be fair, how to be unbiased. I don't understand why that's happening. You know, one of the things that really struck me was that they said, remember, most people are good and law-abiding citizens. I mean, do you really have to be taught that as a police officer? First of all, I think part of the problem, because they're always looking at solutions on how to retrain police officers, how to ensure that they're fair and unbiased. The bottom line is everybody's not meant to be a police officer. If you don't have these qualities innate, if they're not taught to you when you're a child, if that's not part of your makeup as a person when dealing with other people, then you're not meant to be a police officer. Every doctor's not meant to be a doctor. Every lawyer's not meant to be an attorney. So we have to really do a better, critique or vetting process when we're hiring police officers. And what we really need to think about, it's not solely at the area of hiring policemen. We have to look at the people who are becoming chiefs, people who are making these decisions and allowing these people to become the police for our community. There has to be a total revamping on the way that police are hired, who we allow to be police, and the way they operate in our community.
And Michael, I'm sorry, don't lose your point. That's why I was so outraged last week when the family of that brother who was shot in the back 8 times, what's his name? When the family sort of made conciliatory comments as it relates to the police commissioner because they fired him and he was arrested, but that only happened after the film. Prior to the film being released, that police commissioner knew he was shot 4 or 5 times in the back. He should have known. There should have been an investigation. Officer should have been suspended. It's definitely questionable.
Slager was the
Slager.
cop who did it.
So, as Julian stated, there's no accountability from the top down.
Well, I would just say for the record that America has no problem with policing in America. I'm saying from the American government, the federal government on down, has never had a problem with police officers being heavy-handed or killing blacks. Never has in over 160, 70 years since the Civil War. It's never had, as a matter of fact, that's who they hire. How can you even raise questions as to hiring racists or not to be racist when racists hire racists? As a matter of fact, when an overseer see another overseer who's more brutal than him, he's going to make sure he gets a job, or he'll recommend him out to someone else. That has always been the case. Violence has always been saluted. He's real, he's so-and-so. This has been all across America, whether it's police departments, whether it's sheriffs, all of them, especially sheriffs and marshals. These are powers that will always control these communities in their way, and that's by brutal force. I mean, you have to remember, when the majority of a community is civilian and you have a small unit of police officers, even with 35,000 here in New York City, when you compare that to in excess of 8 million, that's a small amount, but it's a standing army nonetheless. However, you use brutality as not only a show of force, but as your calling card to let you know, if you even think about it, this is what's going to happen. And this is why the onlookers who see injustices like this, they say nothing. And this is why the family Noel was talking about in South Carolina, they are intimidated because they know what could happen now or later. That's why even the Dominican brother who gave that information, who videotaped that information, is afraid for his life now, because that standard has already been set and has been inculcated in our mind. The confluence of violence throughout the whole nation is not only widespread, but it has been accepted by whites, it has been encouraged by whites, and unfortunately, there's a fear factor among blacks that it will continue. So it's nothing new. The only thing new is the videotape.
Right. All right. We're at the section where we entertain our phone calls at this time. First phone caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Calling from the Rockaways. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Okay, good afternoon, brother.
Okay, before I move forward, I'm going to say that I prayers and praise to the God of the black man and black woman fathers, I call Allah, that those who sold us into slavery on the continent of Africa, their souls are hanging up inside the sun and burning double the time that we've been here in America if they didn't seek forgiveness. As I listen to your opening statement concerning slavery and police tactics, I thank Allah for my big brother Alex Hurley. Alex Hurley took us back almost 1700. Slavery started in 1500. And what I see, what is happening here, it started on the continent of Africa. Okay, they got us turning away from our fathers, bow down to them as gods, and then they tried to enslave us. And until we go and understand the tactics that was used, it's the same tactics that was used back then is used today. Ain't no difference, brothers. It's no difference. I mean, look at Barack Obama. They got him to turn against his own minister. So we got to look at our sickness in this country, because these people did not bring us here to be abiding citizens. They brought us here to be slaves. We're only getting paid because it looks good in sight of the world that we're getting paid to do work, but we're doing their works to keep us enslaved and promote their agenda.
Right.
We got to look at this from 1555, how they started us in slavery.
Right. Okay, brother.
When George Foreman and Muhammad Ali was fighting.
Brother, we got you, brother. Okay, all right, hold it. We got your point, brother. We got a lot of phone calls we got to go to. Thank you for your phone call. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Yes, Salaam alaikum, brothers. Brother Noel and Brother Julian, I just want to send my condolences out to your father. And
thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Allah bless him and give him paradise.
Thank you,
Thank
brother.
you, brother.
Know me. I'm going with Khalid Muhammad. I'm going with Elijah. I'm going with El Haj Malik. I'm talking about taking these crackers' heads. Because that's exactly what they're doing to us, brother. You can't sit there and talk this sweet talk, and these crackers are not listening to it. They're steady killing our people every doggone day. And if anyone can prove that they're not, please prove it to me. So this is what I want to say, brother. What is the solution? The damn president and the attorney general, what are they doing? Nothing. If they were killing Jews and white people like this, if black people was killing Jews and white people like this Negro would be doing everything in the world to stop it. So what we got to do is stand up as men and realize that we got to use the language that they're using. That's the only thing that's going to stop it.
Well, okay, brother. Thank you for your phone call. And thank you for your condolences, brother.
Thank
I
you, brother.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Where you calling from?
Call from home.
Hotel. Quick question, comment.
Yeah, I had a question. Which one of you guys got a big talk?
All right, next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Calling from Manhattan.
Hotel. Quick question, comment, brother.
My comment is to all three men that's on the line, that's on TV right now. I respect what you're saying, if y'all got me.
Okay.
Okay. My view is 2 years from now, Mayor de Blasio will be up for re-election. If he don't get this thing together with these police, we are watching and we will replace him. And once he goes, Brett will go. So either him, either the mayor do what he's supposed to do, and the speaker of the city council get on board with it, or they both will be out of job 2 years from now. And we'll have somebody like y'all in there representing us in a minute. Because whether they want to believe it or not, 60% of this city is us now. So whoever going to be the next mayor, next council speaker, do need our vote. And that's the bottom line.
That's right. You're correct.
Well,
Thank you for your call.
Well, brother, let me just say to you, I don't think that you're dealing with empirical data to say that he will not be the next mayor. It seems that so far the black community loves this man, or at least appears to, at least black leaders. I do not see a fight right now brewing in the city council about him making it clear there will be no legislation around the chokehold. He has made it clear that his goal is to secure the borders of places like Israel. He's made it clear now that to say something back to a police officer will constitute a felony if he has his way. So I don't see it getting better, and I don't see the clarion call that's coming out to run him out of office. I see him being well greeted in black churches, which he visits. So right now, I don't see that thing you see. Now I hope you're right, but as of now, I don't see it.
All right, but it definitely has to happen, and we have to bring it to fruition, as Michael said. The organizing, if it is happening, it's not something we can see. But next caller, nothing that we see right now, but it should, because this mayor should be one-term mayor. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from? You're on the air, caller.
Hi, is that me?
Yes, it's you. Quick question or comment. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Okay, Brooklyn.
Hi, guys. Thank you. What I'm calling about is I'm really enraged or intense, but I can't do my emotion thing right now. What I want to say is there is a small group of us who've been gathering for the last several months, and we are running the Not My Dollar campaign at Reverend Dillon's Church, BCC 1061 Atlantic Avenue between Franklin and Crescent. But what I want to share with you is that on Monday, May 4th, I told Reverend Dillon I would get it on Community Cop.
Okay.
Monday, May 4th, we will have our second rally of Not My Dollar campaign, and people will be coming there to announce what we are doing, our small group is doing to get us as a people to understand that it is my dollar that I'm not going to be spending anymore with those of them who are continuing to oppress us. We will have young people, we will have younger people, we will have youth, we will have young adults. We're crying out to them so that when they come that evening, they will hear those of us who have the knowledge, the information, and we will educate them on how to use their dollar. We have many people that we don't know about in our community that will teach them just how they can spend their 50 cents
All right, sister, give us a time, date, and location one more time, and if there's a phone number.
Okay, the phone number I'm gonna have to. Oh, no, I
time,
have
date,
the number,
time,
but
date.
it's Brooklyn Christian Center, 1061 Atlantic Avenue, Monday, May 4, 7 p.m. I'm going to see if I can call in again.
917-947-8994.
Say it again.
917-947-8994.
Okay, thank you for that information, sister.
Thank you. You're so welcome.
Okay. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
This is Brooklyn. Hakeem.
Hotep Hakeem. Quick question, comment.
So my comment is basically dealing with the legislation. We actually confronted the Reverend Al Sharpton and a couple of other political outlets in our community regarding these issues and the continuing police assaults and killing of Afro-Americans in our communities. But the better way of reviewing these things is to look at your police commissioner and the unions that are supporting and protecting these officers when they're committing these innocent crimes. So if you can't get legislation to remove these people and the criminal justice system cannot convict them for these innocent crimes, why don't they go to remove their pension for these officers that actually kill people without any justification whatsoever?
Right. All right. Well, brother, I can tell you, as you know, the pension and the union benefits is in legislation, so that's going to be an uphill battle. I don't think that's going to be a workable solution to try to deny these officers from getting pension. They should be fired and they should be arrested. And if we can't get that to happen, then everything is a moot point. But thank you for your call, brother. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Harlem.
Okay, Harlem, quick question, comment. Hotep.
Yeah, I'm curious, right? Like, me personally, I believe the Klan has successfully infiltrated law enforcement.
I believe so as well, brother.
And they basically having a field day. They're letting the laws that govern us basically protect them. And, you know, like, I'm just like, I'm not going to say we, but why does it seem that our people are like deer in headlights and whatnot? Why isn't, you know, like, unfortunately, it took some disturbed brother from Baltimore to basically regulate in New York the way brothers in New York should have regulated and whatnot. You know what I mean? Now, you know, like, I'm not an advocate per se for violence, but then again, you know, you hit me, expect to get hit back. You know what I'm saying? And black folks need to start adopting that attitude, because all these marches and relying on courts, they already showed their true colors. What is it going to take before you get your revolutionary thing cap on?
All right. Thank you for your phone call, brother.
Well, let me just say for the record, we do not advocate what the young man from Baltimore came up here and shot 2 police officers. We're not advocating that at all. However, when you raise the question as to what's wrong with our minds, if our people had been enslaved since the 1480s, going back to the west coast of Africa and all the way to the present, then I would say that, of course, our minds are tainted. Of course, our vision is skewed. You know, obviously, we're not all that we should be. And even though God has given us great teachers, Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Minister Farrakhan, and so many others, yet the battle is still for our African minds, as Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark, Dr. Jeffries, and so many others have waged that battle, because we have to reclaim our African minds, which First World used to advertise. So until we do, we're going to always be confused. We will always allow those that sell us out to negotiate on our behalf. But we just have to get better than that. And again, we do not advocate in any way what the brother in Baltimore said.
All right. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
How you doing, brothers? Community Cop. All right, Noel. How you doing, Michael?
Where you calling from, brother?
Here we go again. Every week it's state-sponsored terrorism. Every week is state-sponsored terrorism. Do you think all this is being initiated because we are the only ones in this country that has rioted and protested from Marcus Garvey? And do you think they are trying to initiate martial law as soon as we erupt? Are you really think that? And would KPAC go against the flag? You know, they're talking about this down south flag and Confederate flag. the role the Jews will have played in that if the Germans were the one to do that, would they have to came down on them like that?
All right. All right, thank you for your phone call, brother.
Well, brother, real briefly, if you saw what happened in Ferguson, you know, brother Ray, you don't have to wonder, will there be some form of state-sponsored terrorism? Will fascism kick in? You saw what that little town of Ferguson, what they had laying in wait just in case you get out there in the streets. So if that's Ferguson, just imagine for a second what you think all the major police departments have. So we don't even have to wonder about that. And again, America is more than comfortable with the way the black community is being policed.
And real quick, it's not a response, you know, would you see all these police killings? It's not a response to so-called rioting or protest. You know, you can look at the book Without Sanctuary. You know, African Americans have been murdered at the hands of white law enforcement and outside law enforcement ever since the history of America was, you know, began. They have always murdered Africans in this country. So it's not a response to anything. It's a response to that nature that they have, that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad addressed when he asked, who is the colored man? Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Yes. Hello?
Yes, sir. Where you calling from?
Yes, I'm calling from Harlem, New York.
Quick question or comment?
A little bit of both. I'm gonna do it real quick. First of all, I know a book called A New Jim Crow. It's recommended reading for everyone. And I'm speaking to the fact that when he was talking about resisting arrest by saying, what do you arrest me, why I got to put up my hands and making felonies out of this here? According to this here book, this is what they're doing, documented, so that they can make a permanent underclass. The other thing is, before I have called you guys and said, have you ever heard of a black cop shooting a white kid? And no one was able to say, yeah. And I asked my friends, nobody knows, have ever heard of it. My point in saying this is this. What's really going on is that these people have declared war on us, and this is proof of it. Because if it was just a case where they're arbitrarily, the cops have to shoot someone, then why is only one way instead of both ways? It doesn't make sense. That's what geometry is about and stuff like that there. You know, you find patterns and stuff like that there. And the pattern is always one way. So if it's always one way in problem solving and mathematics, that gives you your answer. These people have declared war on us, and no one told us. We're not looking at that way, but that's exactly what they're doing.
Okay, excellent point, brother. Thank you for your phone call. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Yes, I'm calling for Flatbush, Brooklyn.
Okay, Brooklyn. Quick question or comment? Talk a little louder.
Comment, just a comment.
All right, go ahead, brother.
The other day, there was a guy flying a gyro helicopter over the state capitol in D.C. Shouldn't he be shot down at the sky?
Okay, did anybody hear that?
Yeah, he was talking about the helicopter that flew close to the Capitol building, and there was no response.
Right, yeah, that's ridiculous. But excellent point, brother. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Where you calling from?
Oh, wow. Okay, the Bronx.
All right, quick question. Are we live in the Bronx?
Online.
Okay, go ahead, brother.
Okay, the threshold for making that charge a felony is way too low. My concern is that it could be used as a tool to coerce false testimony, and how in the heck that you're going to have an after charge be more than what your actual charge is, i.e. if you're out protesting, stop and frisk, and they want to arrest you for that, or $15 an hour minimum wage, which is no more than misdemeanor for civil disobedience and protest, that you're going to tack on that kind of a felony charge, and this will take and shrink the pool of blacks from the community from joining the force, because you never know when you're going to end up with another Newell, Julian, a Big Mike. You know, these brothers who can actually make a difference and been on the force for years. By the way, good job, Mike, for holding it down over the last 2 weeks.
Thank you, brother.
And my thing is, use what's in your hand. Swipe these young brothers and sisters on. You're only helping out your community when you use your Metro card to swipe them on. So swipe them on, because that, again, will add to the pool of qualified applicants along the way, should they decide that they want to get into these civil jobs that our tax dollars actually pay for. And why not make it a felony when you're caught on camera, if you're a person that's in one of these civil positions, telling somebody you can't film, you know, because that actually goes against their mandate to protect and serve, and the Constitution as well.
A lot of callers, brother, but thank you. Excellent points. Thank you for your call. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
York, Brooklyn.
Okay, Brooklyn's in the house today. Quick question or comment, brother?
Yeah, quick question, man. I'm a retired police officer. I started off in transit. I don't know what else to say, but I was there in scenarios where these cops are on this cat's neck from Red Hook, and to this day, man, I had to push those guys off, and just blackballed, and it's just sad, man. It's just I don't understand where all that comes from, all that hatred and violence. Where does it come from? And that's it, man. You guys are doing a great job too.
All right, and thank you, brother. Thank you for your phone call.
Yeah, by the way, Maryland and Michigan, and it's another state I don't remember, it is illegal to tape a police officer carrying out his duties in Maryland, Michigan, and I forgot the other state.
So now the brother said, he said he was on the job and he was sought out in transit.
Yeah.
Well, listen, first of all, I commend you for standing up for the brother that you stood up for when the officers were being over aggressive, and we need more cops to stand up and do that. But, there is, your story isn't far and few in between. There's a lot of stories like that. And we would hope that throughout time, there's a real change in the mindset of police officers when it comes to dealing with our community. Yeah. But with the present administration, I don't see that happening.
And, that's why we had a seat up close and personal. That's why we can say the attitude towards African Americans by members of police departments is utter hatred, utter disregard for their humanity, and that has to change. Next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Washington Heights.
Okay, hold that, brother.
I'm calling you from Washington Heights.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me from Washington Heights?
All right, next caller. Welcome to Community Cop. Where are you calling from? All right, did we lose that call? It's because of Spearhead at the end of the program.
I want to commend Brother Noel because he won't say it. This weekend, he had a debate with a brother who we love and respect so much, Dr. McIntosh, over should young blacks join the police department, and just wanted to say for the record that it was outstanding. Both participants were outstanding, and I personally, on a personal level, I was just so proud of Noel for representing 100 blacks in law enforcement so well.
And it's very important, one of the things that we talked about is the need for African Americans to join the police department as an alternative to neutralize some of these horrific acts of violence and disrespect. And just because our young kids need to see, African Americans when they step out their house and somebody has a uniform. So we encourage that. But don't forget, this is your mayor's police commissioner, the person that he chose that is attempting to up the ante as it relates to these this resisting arrest charge, making it a felony. As the brother stated, not only will you not get the police job if you're charged with a felony.
About this phone number.
Hello, sis, are you on?
Hello, can you hear me? Yes.
You said you have like 30 seconds. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Somebody called in and asked for the phone number for your dollars, and Michael Graves inadvertently gave the wrong number, so I just want to give the right number.
Okay, go ahead, sister.
The right number is 718-638-6397. That's 718-638-6397.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have on point
the Freedom Party number.
Right, we have on point viewers, but it is your mayor, police commissioner, his choice that is up in the ante, that is attempting to make this misdemeanor charge a felony. And not only will it be individuals be unable to be police officers, firemen, other things, but you can't get college loans, you can't move into houses once you have this felony conviction. So it's something that we need to really address. Law enforcement in this nation is is out of control. Go ahead, Julian.
First of all, always got to say, mom, dad, big sister, I love you. There's a lot of work that we need to do in our community. There is a real attack on our community, and sometimes as a community collectively, we're silent. We have to open our mouths, our minds, and our hearts and our spirits to address this attack. We have to get involved, and we have to make some serious change.
We'll be speaking, delivering a keynote address at United African Movement tomorrow on counterintelligence. Also, I'll be speaking at CIMOTEP this Saturday, 2 p.m., 135-05 Rockaway Boulevard, and also reinstate Alton Maddox.
Okay. On behalf of Community Cop, we'd like to thank our producers. Sheila Berry, Nat Woods, Veronica Kitt. We'd like to thank you, our viewing audience, for watching. That's what I was trying to tell you. You can keep on going.
I was just moving fast. But
a little more, I love you. Mr. Harp, Dad, we love you. The Leader family, the Harper family.
Yeah, just again, United African Movement, 1061 Atlantic Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, between Franklin and Classen. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., we'll be delivering a message that I learned from Noel Leader on counterintelligence. So if I don't get it right, you can blame it on him. Again, he was outstanding this week, and just felt so proud of that. And of course, reinstate Alton Maddox.
You know, one of the things that's so important, I find during my travels and my experiences speaking to people in the community, and all the brothers and sisters that I meet up in Harlem when I see you, when you show love to Community Cop, and listen, we love you back and we appreciate you. But there is a strong spirit of people who are really concerned about the ills of the malaffect in our community. Collectively, we have great minds. And Noel always talks about Kwame Ture saying that we're not poor, we're just poorly organized. So we really need to organize and collectively come together, address the issues of the malaffect in our community. And if we do that, we'll have a strong response to deal with all these ills.
And this is a message to everyone that lives in the black community. When you see a police officer about to interact with a member of your community, take your phones out, take your cameras out. Don't wait till something happens and start filming it. Get it from the beginning. And if nothing happens, just delete it. We have to put these officers on notice because their actions in our community doesn't seem to be getting better. It seems to be getting worse. And although it's not a total answer, it is part of an answer. But I think we're out of time. We'd like to thank you, our viewing audience. Knowledge is power. And, we're getting a message.
And next week, we will talk about the teachers in Atlanta. We just ran out of time and we had so much to do, but we'll talk about the teachers in Atlanta next week.
Yeah, you did mention that earlier. Sorry we didn't get that in. Maybe we can have some footage as well. A group of black teachers that are not only found guilty of allegedly cheating, but some of them were even arrested. And given sentence. But see you next Tuesday. Knowledge to the wise. Peace.